I think that my girlfriend is only with me because she can't be with her best friend. Should I just end the relationship? I've been with my girlfriend Jordan for a little over 2 years, we live together and we have 2 cats. Up until this weekend I genuinely thought everything was perfect in our relationship, which I know is what everyone says in these posts, but I really was thinking that I was going to ask her to marry me sometime in the next year. We don't ever get into arguments. Jordan is very sweet and easygoing and normally we just mesh well on everything. Honestly, if everything in our relationship hadn't been so good up until now I probably would have just broken up with her this weekend. But because things have truly been so perfect, I'm not sure if maybe I'm jumping to the wrong conclusion about what to do because my feelings got hurt. The other person who's important in this story is Jordan's friend Mark. She's known Mark for their whole lives because they both grew up in the same small religious community. Jordan isn't part of that religion anymore. She decided to leave the church when she was I think 19 and moved to the state that we live in now. Mark still is in the religion and apparently takes it really seriously. I'm told he now works for the church back in Jordan's hometown. Also, as far as I know, Mark is the only person from the religious community that Jordan still talks to besides her parents, which I'm mentioning because I now think it could be a red flag. So on Saturday I met Mark for the first time because he was in our city and Jordan wanted us all to have dinner together. At this point I want to say, I will admit that when we were first dating and I found out that Jordan had a best friend who was a guy, I didn't really like it, especially because it seemed like they were on FaceTime with each other a lot. But since it was a childhood friend and they mostly didn't see each other in person, I just trusted Jordan that Mark was only a friend and didn't let it bother me, and eventually I got over it. So when we were going to dinner, I wasn't jealous or suspicious of Mark at all. If anything, I was somewhat excited to finally be meeting him since I've been hearing about him for 2 years. But then the way Jordan and Mark acted at dinner is what convinced me that there's something going on there other than just being best friends. I honestly don't even know how to describe it except to say that I've never seen 2 people act more obviously like they were in love with each other. They literally would not stop touching each other. They were constantly touching each other's arms and shoulders, and at some points they were actually even holding hands. They completely left me out of the conversation and were laughing about inside jokes, and every time they'd laugh they'd do this thing where they put their foreheads together, or that was when they'd be holding hands. And then also they were just looking at each other in a way that I didn't feel comfortable with at all. It was honestly even worse than the touching. It just wasn't how anyone would look at somebody they're supposedly just friends with. I'm 100% sure that every stranger looking at our table thought that Jordan and Mark were the couple and that I was her brother or something. I felt like a third wheel the whole time, and Jordan didn't even notice how awkward she was making it for me because she was way too focused on Mark and all the attention she was getting from him. And that's really not like Jordan at all. Usually she's a lot more considerate and would notice immediately if I wasn't having a good time or if she was accidentally being rude and excluding someone at the table. So it was genuinely really jarring to be sitting there with her and Mark and basically feeling like I didn't know my girlfriend at all. It was like he turned her into a completely different person who didn't even care that I was alive. So finally at one point when Jordan got up to go to the bathroom, I just said to Mark, "So are you into my girl or what's going on here?" Mark, "Nothing's going on at all. That ship sailed a long time ago." Me, "What does that mean? Did you guys date at some point?" Mark, "No, we never did. And then when she left the church, we both knew it meant that we were never going to. And we've accepted being in each other's lives as friends. There's nothing else going on at all." Me, "That makes it sound like the only reason you're not together is because she left the church." And all Mark did was shrug. Me, "Well, what if she came back to the church? Would you marry her?" Mark, "Oh, she's not going to do that. You might as well ask what would happen if a bicycle had 6 tires." And so then when Jordan came back to the table, Mark said to her, "OP wants to know if we'd be married if you weren't a godless heathen." Jordan, "Why, did you 2 call your mom while I was gone?" And then she and Mark both just laughed about it and changed the subject. So because of dinner and that conversation and everything else that I've written about in this post, I really feel like Jordan and Mark are in love with each other and not just best friends like they say, and the only reason they aren't together is because they can't compromise about their religion. I think Jordan thinks that because she's okay with that decision, she expects me to be okay with being her second choice, and in the meantime she's actually secretly wanting to be with Mark. So that makes me think that I should probably obviously just have self-respect and break up with her, because I shouldn't be in a relationship with someone who would rather be with somebody else. But then the problem for me is that our relationship has been so perfect and Jordan has always treated me so well except for this one night. The only time she's ever acted like this was on the one occasion that Mark was around in person. Normally even when she's talking to him all the time she's never made me feel this way. So on the one hand I'm wondering if maybe it doesn't matter what Jordan's feelings are for Mark, as long as he isn't going to be around it doesn't actually seem to affect our relationship. So maybe I just need to cool off and go back to trusting her that they are indeed only friends even if it seems to be true that they have complicated feelings for each other? Or should I just end things? Comment. This option is your best bet. This is what I would consider a test if your relationship is stable enough to jump towards marriage. You need to lay your cards on the table, meaning how you felt about that interaction and expressing your feelings and doubts about how your relationship fits with theirs. It's going to feel vulnerable and bring a lot of anxiety, but it's the only way to really know if this is a moment that can eliminate those doubts or if those doubts fruition into more suspicion and anxiety. Because what you feel after that vulnerable discussion will be what you feel in a marriage with her. In what religion is that behavior normal? The weird/small/fundamentalist sects I'm familiar with are generally more strict about intimacy between men and women, not less. Good chance there is strong love happening there. But the acts by themselves doesn't mean she isn't aware that this compromises a relationship she would seem to want along with her friendship. Many people have that one that got away, and when that person comes back into their presence, some natural emotions and behaviors can come back that you may not be intending to express. Realizing those feelings and how you respond to the perception of that behavior is what will say if it's just that one that got away and will not go back, or one they are willing to wait for. Not necessarily. You don't know what kind of background they have. The "we would be married" bit could just as well mean that they would have been married without their consent due to their parents. Which seems probable considering her comment afterwards. Don't plan on ending anything until you talk to her. You would hate yourself. Sit her down. Be totally open about how she ignored you and how she made you feel. She needs to realize what she did, so don't pull punches. I'm surprised you didn't just get up and walk out. Holding hands? Foreheads touching? Wow. Ask her how she would have felt if reversed and it was you, Ajay, and another woman. After you tell her how she made you feel, be honest with her and tell her you went from being in love with her to considering whether you should end the relationship over how she made you feel. Also tell her that in order for this to work she needs to look you in the eye and tell you that you are her number one, and even if her friend weren't in that religion you would still be the one she would choose every time. Tell her if she can't honestly do that then your relationship is going to end. Put the ball in her court and make her make the hard decisions. Don't you do it based on assumptions. Don't end it and have all these horrible doubts all your life. If she does what you ask and says you're her person, then tell her you think she should message him and tell him that she is aware that she made you uncomfortable at the dinner and so she just wants to clear the air and make sure he knows that all she wants with him is friendship and you're her person. She should let you read it before she sends it, and also let you read his response. If he calls instead of texting, he goes on speakerphone. She should not leave the room after sending it, to call him and tell him to ignore it or anything. Please update us when you talk to her. Story 2. Just caught my sister cheating on her amazing partner with a disgusting old loser. Okay, sorry if I'm all over the place, but I'm just in shock right now. My sister has been dating the most amazing guy for just under 2 years now, and living with him for about 6 months. He's a great guy who can always make anyone laugh, has a good stable job, he's great looking, very generous, is always respectful and has become a welcome part of the family. About 2 weeks ago, they allowed his recently divorced uncle to move in temporarily. This guy is the opposite. He's like a giant lumbering caveman. He's a complete sleazebag with yellow teeth who smells like an ashtray, dresses like a hillbilly, has no job and literally no redeeming qualities. Just imagine the most disgusting person you've ever met and dial it up. Seriously, within 5 minutes of meeting him my dad said he doesn't want him at our house. They let him stay because they just didn't want him to go homeless, and my sister was against the idea. Oh, and his age, 45 is the minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if he's over 60. So today I decided to go visit my sister. I knew her BF is at work and thought I'd go there to see if she wanted to come shopping to give her an excuse to get away from him. Their house is in a little laneway and weirdly designed so the door is around the side. I was walking around the side and heard moaning. I looked into the living room window and saw my sister naked on the sofa with this absolutely disgusting old piece of human trash between her legs. I could see her face and hear them, and it was clearly consensual. I'm just so disgusted right now. Like, it's bad enough she cheated on such an amazing guy, but with someone who seems like he should be in a horror movie. Like, what? She's beautiful too, so it's not like it was about desperation or something. I don't know what to. I love my sister and her BF deserves to know, but obviously she's the one I owe loyalty to. Edit. Also, at first she didn't want him there, but after a few days she did, and she was defending him to my dad when he said how disgusting her is. I could see her face and hear what she was saying. Hwick I won't repeat, but I'm 100% sure it was consensual. Update. I sent her a message, then she called me. First she said it wasn't her and he must have had someone over. Then she said he forced her. Then she said her BF knows but don't ask him because they have an arrangement where they don't talk about it, but I know when she's lying. I feel so sick. I hung up on her and she's blowing up my phone begging me not to tell her boyfriend, so I texted her back and said she has to or I will. TBH, I still don't know if I can do that to her even though she deserves it. Update 2. My family all got in a huge fight about it. My sister is begging us not to tell him, my mum's taking her side, and dad and I say she should come clean and deal with what happens. As for her reason, she said they'd been having problems and she'd put on weight and was feeling ugly and unwanted, and the creep made her feel like she's beautiful again. That's no excuse though as far as I'm concerned. So everyone was yelling at each other all night. Mum says we'd be ruining her life for nothing, and what's done is done. Then her and dad got into a fight saying sister's BF has every right to know what's been going on. Comment. I once overheard my older sister having intimate with her boyfriend. I was in the other room and I'm gathering she didn't know I was home. I didn't know what to do, so I got up quietly. I was in my room BTW, put some headphones on, and blasted Black Sabbath's Live Evil album over my headphones. I actually remember details like that. So based on my own experience, I guess it's possible. Yes, but it was her boyfriend. Not some disgusting older guy. So glad you had headphones. When in college was visiting friend's apartment. They called me to the bedroom where you could easily hear the couple next door having intimate. Surprised my buddies didn't clap when it was done. Except I did it once. I was supposed to be at work and had to stop by my friend's house or something after work, but I got cut early, so I was like 3 hours early, and I walked right up and they're naked in the living room. Giant picture window. LOL, it happens. I'm probably naive on this wonder. But why foretell a complete fake fantastical story on subreddits like this? I don't get what people get out of doing this. Trolling? Analyzing their own fantasies and whatnot? Nito rare, a Japanese term to describe cheating. It's a popular hentai/porn category, often where a young beautiful woman has intimate with some nasty loser while her significant other is none the wiser. There are other Nito or NTR categories that encompass different things, but all are cheating to some degree. I'm no expert, but have actually been curious to the psychology behind it and why some seemingly love it. He deserves to know. He's not only been betrayed by your sister, but his uncle whom he opened his home. Give her a deadline and keep all the communications. If she doesn't tell by your deadline, you need to do it. Wouldn't you want to know you were being lied to, betrayed and taken advantage of by people you thought you could trust? You don't owe your sister loyalty. Her actions are her own, and if she faces the consequences, it's her own fault. EDA, read your second update. Your mom is wholly wrong. Your guys wouldn't be ruining her relationship. She did when she decided to allow his uncle to F her. It's all on her. Her BF doesn't deserve to be lied to and manipulated. Chase, guess what? It will come out and he'll know he was not only betrayed by his GF and uncle, but also by you and your parents.